The first time she said it, she wasn't looking at me. She was watching the rain slide down her porch railing, her voice quiet enough that I almost thought she was talking to herself. "I don't sleep alone," she said. And then she smiled, slow and tired, like the words weren't meant to tempt anyone, just to test how much truth they could carry. I should have left it at that, but I didn't. She lived across the street. Clara, the widow everyone in the neighborhood mentioned with a mix of pity and fascination. Mid-40s, calm in a way that felt practiced. Her house always smelled like coffee and something faintly floral, like old perfume that had sunk into the walls. I was 24, working nights, sleeping through most days. We started talking because I offered to fix her porch light. I didn't mean for anything more. She thanked me with tea one evening, jasmine, though she said she didn't like it much, and I noticed she didn't drink hers. The next time, she asked me to help carry in groceries, then to check her Wi-Fi, then to move a chair. Every time, I told myself it was just a favor. But she had this way of standing close when she spoke, like distance wasn't something she owed anyone. Her voice was low, not soft, exactly, but careful, like each word was weighed before it left her. And her eyes, dark, steady, always seemed to stay on me a second too long. That night, the rain had stopped, but the air was still heavy. She was in the doorway, barefoot, wearing a loose cardigan over something silk. I remember the sound of her bracelets shifting when she leaned against the frame. "You always come over when it rains," she said. I laughed. "Quiet. Maybe I like the sound of it here." She tilted her head. "Or maybe you like the sound of me." I didn't know what to say to that. I think I smiled or tried to. She didn't move and I didn't either. The only sound was the slow drip of water from the gutter and the hum of her fridge somewhere inside. She handed me a towel, brushing my fingers. Just that, a touch that should have meant nothing. But it lingered. Inside, her house felt warm in a way mine never did. Books on the coffee table. A record player in the corner, still spinning though the song had ended minutes ago. I sat on the edge of the couch while she poured wine into mismatched glasses. Her hand trembled slightly when she handed me one, but her face didn't show it. "You don't talk much," she said. "Neither do you," I said back. That made her laugh quietly. "Maybe that's why you keep coming over. Too much noise everywhere else." She sat beside me, not touching but close enough that I could feel the heat from her leg. Her perfume was faint, something clean, like rain on skin. For a moment, I thought she might say something else. But she just looked at me, really looked, long enough that my pulse started to catch up with the silence. Then her phone buzzed. She flinched. A small movement, almost invisible, but it broke whatever held the air still. "Excuse me," she said, standing, her voice suddenly formal again. I watched her step into the next room, the sound of her voice low and distant on the call. When she came back, she didn't explain. She just stood in the doorway, arms folded, studying me like she was deciding whether to tell me something, or to take it back before it began. And then, quietly, almost a whisper, "Lock the door, would you?" The light flickered once. The rain started again, and neither of us moved. She didn't talk about her husband often. Not directly, anyway. Sometimes she'd mention him the way people refer to weather, something that happened, unchangeable, already past. "He used to fix that hinge every spring," she'd say, or "he hated that lamp." Then she'd catch herself and go quiet, eyes drifting to the window like she'd just remembered someone was supposed to walk through it. I never asked what happened. Everyone already knew, the car accident 3 years ago, late at night, halfway to the airport. What no one said was that she'd been the one who stayed behind. She was older, yes, twice my age, maybe more. But it wasn't just that. It was the way she carried it. Like every year was something she'd earned, not something she hid. And still, there was something lonely about her. Not the obvious kind. More like she'd gotten used to the quiet too well. I kept finding reasons to stop by. A package on her porch, a neighbor's rumor, a lamp that needed fixing. She never told me not to. She just looked at me like she knew what I was doing and didn't mind. One evening, she invited me in again. No rain this time, just the dull orange of sunset slipping through her curtains. She was barefoot, same as always, holding 2 cups of coffee she'd already started to drink from. "You should be out with someone your age," she said suddenly, handing me the wrong cup, hers. I smiled, pretending not to notice. "Maybe I'm not great at following advice." Her mouth twitched. "You think this is advice?" I didn't answer. She stood close, one hand resting on the back of the couch. Her cardigan slipped off her shoulder, and she didn't bother fixing it. The light hit the curve of her collarbone, soft and unguarded. "Clara," I said, just her name, came out low, almost rough. She looked at me then, and whatever she was about to say never made it out. Her fingers brushed mine as she reached for the cup, and I felt her hesitate, just enough to make the moment real. Later, I sat on her back porch while she watered the plants, the smell of wet earth and jasmine thick in the air. She hummed something I didn't recognize. "Do people ever talk?" I asked. She stopped. "About what?" "Us." She smiled faintly, though her eyes didn't. "People always talk. It's what they do when they have nothing of their own." I wanted to reach for her then, to close the space that kept stretching between us, but I didn't. Instead, she set down the watering can and walked over, her hand brushing my shoulder as she passed. It wasn't an accident, but it wasn't an invitation either. Just a touch, brief, grounding, and in that small, quiet contact, the warmth of her skin, the closeness of her breath, something shifted. She looked at me, lips parted, like she was about to confess something she'd promised herself she never would. Then she whispered, barely, "You should go before I forget how to stop." I didn't. Neither did she. The next time I saw her, it wasn't planned. I'd been walking home from work, 9:30, when I saw her porch light flickering again. The same one I'd fixed weeks ago. She was outside, kneeling by the flower pots, wearing an oversized shirt that brushed her knees. "Thought I told you that light was cursed," I said. She looked up, startled at first, then softened. "Maybe it just likes bringing you back." Her smile was faint, but there was something behind it. Something that made the air between us feel thinner. Inside, the house smelled like rain and faint smoke from the candle she'd forgotten to blow out. She apologized, reaching past me to close the door. Her shoulder brushed my arm, light as breath. "You shouldn't be here so late," she said, her voice quiet but unsteady. "I could say the same to you," I answered. Her eyes flicked to mine, then away. "I don't sleep much." Neither of us moved for a while. Just the hum of the refrigerator, the creak of floorboards under our feet. She looked tired, not the kind that comes from lack of rest, the kind that settles into the bones. "I was just making tea," she said finally. "Do you want some?" I nodded. Anything to stay. She moved around the kitchen with slow, practiced motions, the sound of the kettle, the faint clink of spoons. I leaned against the counter, watching her. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear. The way her hand trembled slightly when she poured the water. "You stare too much," she murmured without turning around. "Only when you let me," I said before I could stop myself. That made her pause. She turned, meeting my eyes, a long, searching look that made my chest tighten. Then she crossed the small space between us and handed me the cup. Our fingers brushed, again that static, that pull. Neither of us pulled away right away. The sound came just then, a knock at the door. Sharp, sudden. She flinched, eyes widening. "Who?" I started. Her hand shot up, not touching, just stopping me. "Don't," she whispered. The knock came again, softer this time. A woman's voice. "Clara? You home? It's me, Anne." Her neighbor. The one who always seemed to know too much. Clara exhaled. Slow. She mouthed, "Stay quiet." We stood frozen, close enough that I could feel the warmth from her body. She opened the door just enough to speak through it, her voice suddenly light. "Anne." "Hi." I was just heading to bed. A few polite exchanges, then silence. The door clicked shut. When she turned back, she didn't step away. Her breathing was uneven. So was mine. "See what I mean?" she whispered, almost bitter. "People always watching. I should have moved. I didn't." Her hand was still near mine, fingertips brushing the counter between us. I could smell her perfume. Faint, warm, something like cedar and rain. She looked at me, a look that wasn't supposed to last that long. "Clara," I said, barely audible. She closed her eyes, shook her head once, but didn't move back. "Don't," she whispered, even as her hand found my wrist. The moment stretched, quiet but charged, until neither of us remembered what we were supposed to stop. And then the kettle whistled, sharp and sudden. She dropped her hand, but she didn't look away. The storm came without warning. Thunder rolling low, wind slamming the shutters hard enough to make the lights flicker. Clara stood by the window, watching the rain fall sideways against the glass. I was already there, soaked from running across the street when the power went out. I hadn't thought. I just saw her porch light blink once and went. "You shouldn't have come," she said, though she didn't sound angry. More like she'd already lost that argument with herself. "You opened the door," I said quietly. She didn't answer. The room smelled of wet wood and candle wax. A single flame burned on the table, throwing gold against her skin. Her hair was down, loose, damp at the ends, and she looked nothing like the woman who always kept herself composed. I handed her the flashlight from my pocket. Our fingers brushed again, and this time, neither of us pretended not to notice. Her eyes lifted to mine. "You keep showing up when I'm not ready," she said. "Then tell me to stop." She smiled, small and sad. "That's the problem. I don't want to." The words hung there, heavy and dangerous. Lightning flashed, bright enough to show the thin fabric of her shirt clinging to her shoulder, the outline of her collarbone, the pulse at her throat. She noticed me noticing, and something in her expression softened. Not invitation, not refusal, just surrender. She turned away, pressing her palm flat against the windowpane. "They'd never understand," she said. "You know that. I don't care what they think." "You will," she whispered. "When it's too late." I stepped closer. "It already is." Her reflection blinked in the glass, our faces close enough to blur together in the flickering candlelight. I reached up, slowly, brushing a strand of wet hair from her face. She didn't move. Her breath caught, a sharp inhale that felt louder than the rain outside. "You shouldn't," she said. "I know." My hand lingered near her cheek, the warmth of her skin pulling me closer than I meant to go. She turned then, not all the way, just enough that our foreheads nearly touched. Her voice was a whisper against my jaw. "You're too young to know how wrong this could go. Then teach me." The words slipped out, not rehearsed, not brave, just honest. She exhaled, shaky, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Not of me, but of what would happen if she didn't stop this. Her fingers found my shirt, twisting it lightly, holding me there. Her breath brushed my lips. Thunder cracked. The candle wavered. "Clara," I said, voice low, unsteady. "Don't," she breathed. But her hand didn't let go. The air between us was nothing. No space, no distance left to hide behind. And then a sudden knock. Sharp, urgent. Her head jerked toward the door, eyes wide. We froze. Still so close I could taste the rain on her breath. The knock came again. And just like that, the moment shattered, hanging open, unfinished. The knock didn't stop. It came again, sharper this time. A man's voice, low but insistent. "Clara? You in there?" She went still. Her hand dropped from my shirt like it burned her. "Who is that?" I whispered. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes flicked toward the window, then to me. Guilt flashing quick and raw before she masked it. "It's just someone from before." Before. The word hit harder than it should have. She opened the door only a crack. I stayed hidden near the kitchen, heart pounding loud enough that I was sure he'd hear it. "Clara," the voice said again, closer now. "You weren't answering my calls." Her tone was smooth, practiced. "I was asleep. Power's out. You shouldn't have come." "I was worried," he said. "I drove all the way." "Please, Mark," she cut in, lower, urgent. "Not tonight." Silence. Then the sound of retreating footsteps. A car door. engine starting. When she shut the door, she didn't turn around. Who was he? I asked. She hesitated long enough that the answer already hurt. My husband's friend. He checks in sometimes. Checks in, I repeated. That what you call it? She turned then, eyes sharp. Don't. But I couldn't stop. The storm, the closeness, the almost, it all came rushing back in one breath. How long, Clara? How long before I'm just another secret you keep in the dark? Something flickered in her. Anger or pain or maybe both. You think this is easy for me? She said, voice trembling. You think I planned this? No, I said. I think you ran from something, and I was stupid enough to stand where you landed. Her breath hitched. She took a step forward. Too close, too fast. And for a second I thought she'd push me away. But she didn't. She just stopped there, inches away. The air between us hot and unsteady. I told you from the start, she whispered. I don't sleep alone. But I never said who I dream of. The confession hit like lightning. Not loud, just final. Her eyes shimmered in the candlelight, wide open now. No lies left in them. I reached for her, slowly, carefully, and she let me. My hand found her arm. Her skin was cold, but she didn't move. You lied? I said quietly, though it didn't sound like blame anymore. She nodded once. I know. Her pulse fluttered beneath my fingers. She looked up at me. Steady, fragile, everything at once. What happens if we don't stop? I asked. Her answer came as barely a breath. Then we stop being careful. Outside, the thunder had faded. The rain softened into a hush. Inside, the silence between us was louder than ever. She stepped back. Not far, just enough to breathe. Then she reached behind her, turned off the lamp, and the room fell into shadow. Then stay, she said. And this time, she didn't look away. The rain stopped before dawn, leaving the world outside heavy and quiet, like it was holding its breath for us. Clara stood by the doorway, barefoot again, arms crossed against herself as if that could keep the night from reaching her. The storm had passed, but the tension hadn't. It sat between us, thick, electric, impossible to name without breaking it. You don't have to stay, she said, barely above a whisper. I know. She looked at me then, really looked. Then why are you still here? I could have said anything, could have lied, but my throat was dry, and all that came out was the truth. Because I don't want to leave you like this. Her eyes softened. And how's this? Halfway, I said, too close to walk away, too scared to move closer. That made her smile, faint but real, the kind that hurts because it's honest. She came toward me slowly, each step careful, deliberate. When she stopped, we were close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off her skin. Her breath touched my collarbone. I could smell rain still tangled in her hair. I should tell you to go, she said. Then tell me. She shook her head once, almost helplessly. I can't. Her voice trembled on that last word. My hands found her arms, just to steady her, but she didn't pull back. The contact was too small to mean anything and too much to pretend it didn't. Clara? I murmured, her name catching in my throat. She closed her eyes, leaned forward until her forehead touched my chest. This is wrong, she whispered. It has to be. Then why does it feel like the first thing that's made sense in years? Her laugh was soft, uneven. Because you're young. You still think sense and feeling belong in the same sentence. Then teach me the difference. Her breath hitched, a sound between a sigh and a surrender. I felt her fingers rise, brushing my jaw, tracing the line of it like she was memorizing something she already knew she shouldn't. The touch was light, shaking, but it undid me. Her voice came low, almost pleading. If we do this, there's no going back. Then don't look back, I said. For a moment, she stood perfectly still. Her lips parted, her pulse quick under my thumb. Everything else fell away. The house, the storm, the space that kept us pretending we could stay on either side of it. Then she lifted her face, slow, deliberate, until her mouth was just a breath away from mine. And just when the distance vanished, She stopped. I'm not afraid of wanting you, she said. I'm afraid of what it takes from me. I swallowed hard. Then take it back. I'll still be here. Silence. Then she pressed her hand flat against my chest. One heartbeat, two, before stepping back. Not far. Just enough. You should go, she said softly. Before I make it worse. I nodded, though neither of us moved. When I finally reached the door, she called out, voice barely steady. You know where I am, she said. And in that quiet, we both understood. Leaving didn't mean it was over. It just meant neither of us was ready to stop feeling yet. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the curtains like it had been waiting all night for permission. Dust floated in the quiet. The storm had rinsed everything clean, the street, the air, even the weight that usually sat between us. I saw her before she saw me. She was sitting on the porch steps, hair pulled back loosely, a mug warming her hands. No makeup, no distance, just Clara. For a second, I thought about turning around, pretending I hadn't come back. But she looked up and that thought vanished. You didn't listen, she said, though there wasn't any anger in it. I never do, I said. She smiled at that. A real one, small and soft, but real. I sat beside her. The wood was still damp from the night before. She handed me her mug without asking. Her coffee was lukewarm, sweet, just like she took it. We didn't talk for a while. There was no need. Everything that could have been said had already been whispered in the dark, between breaths, between choices we couldn't take back. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady. You scare me sometimes. Why? Because you make me forget how old I am. I looked at her, the sunlight catching the fine lines near her eyes, the faint scar on her wrist she never explained. You're not old, Clara. You're just ahead of me. That made her laugh quietly. You say that like you're trying to catch up. Maybe I am. A breeze moved through the porch, carrying the smell of rain and coffee and something familiar. Something like home. She shifted closer, resting her hand over mine. It was the simplest thing, but it made the world stop for a beat. Her fingers were warm, steady, sure. I don't know what happens next, she said. Then let's not know together. She turned to me, eyes searching, uncertain but open. People will talk. They already do. That earned another soft laugh. You make it sound easy. It's not. But I don't think it has to be perfect to be real. Her gaze lingered, the kind of look that doesn't demand anything, just accepts what's there. Then she leaned forward and rested her forehead against mine. No words, no hesitation. Just that small, human closeness that said everything neither of us could. We stayed like that, the quiet kind of together that doesn't need fixing or promises. When she finally pulled back, her hand stayed in mine. Stay for breakfast? She asked. I nodded. If you make the coffee stronger. She smiled. Deal. Inside, the house smelled like something new, warmth replacing silence, presence instead of distance. Maybe we weren't supposed to find each other. Maybe it was just timing or loneliness or something that didn't fit anywhere else. But sitting there, sunlight across her face, her fingers brushing mine, it didn't matter what it was called. It was enough. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?